My name is Sean Abadjian, and I'm an instructional technology advisor for the central office at Los Angeles Unified School District's Division of Adult and Career Education. And we're excited to be here. I've got a team with me. I've got Lana Prince over here, who's an instructional technology teacher advisor at West Valley Occupational Center. Farzana Kasim, who many of you know, she's an instructional technology teacher advisor at Evans Community Adult School. And Chris Shaper, who's also an ITTA and he's at Abram Friedman Occupational Center. So we're going to walk through some of the best practices and lessons learned in the implementation of the digital WIOA technology survey. And let me just go over real quickly. Got 10 different things that we want to cover today. So a little bit about us, the background on the survey, setting goals, gamifying the surveys, the pre-survey, setting up devices for the survey, directions for administering, sharing results during the rollout, and then post-survey, so sharing the actual results from the survey, what we've learned in infographics. After that, we will turn to the ITTAs, who will give the school site perspective from the various schools that they are working at. So there will be a prize. We have a $25 gift card for the winner of the Kahoot that we'll do at the end. So we'll leave a little bit of time there at the end there. We have until, is it 12:10? Is that how long it goes? Or?
Do we have the Wi-Fi password?
Oh, yeah, make sure you have the Wi-Fi password. All right, so a little bit about LAUSD. So the total area of our school district is 710 square miles. So in addition to the city of Los Angeles, there's also many other cities around Los Angeles that are included, and some unincorporated areas of the county as well. We have about 70,000 students in the Division of Adult and Career Education specifically. So we already introduced ourselves. I gave you a quick introduction to our team. And so we'll be hearing from the ITTAs about their specific schools a little later in the program. So a little about me. I started in December of 2015. I was hired. I work with the instructional technology team that are located at each of our 11 adult schools. So we have at least one ITTA at each of the schools. And so I work on implementing the WIOA technology and distance learning plan, among other things, and supporting the ITTA team. A little bit about our ITTA team. We're very excited. In 2012, we had devastating budget cuts, and that was across the state, so I'm sure all of you are very familiar with that. And we're starting to see our programs rebuild, and that's very encouraging and exciting for us. In the fall of 2016 is when we hired the ITTA teams, so that we have that instructional technology support at each of the school sites. And I have to give some kudos to my boss, Laura Chartier, for having that vision and helping make that happen. And what the ITTAs do is they work on implementing the WIOA tech plan at their site, and also, and as a part of that, supporting teachers at the school with professional development, and now we're really moving into more one-on-one coaching.
Are your ITTA people former instructors?
Yes, so they're all teachers, yes. And some of them are still part-time in the classroom and part-time advisor. So moving into some background on the WIOA technology survey. In 2014, the survey was done on paper. And that proved to be a headache for many reasons, as you can imagine. You've got to transport paper out to the field or have copies made at the field. Then you have to get the actual results brought back to a central place. And then you have to have some folks, input that data. There was someone who, in addition to all the other work they were doing, they had to take on this project, and it took about 3 months to complete that task. So that was very inefficient and not the best use of that individual's time who was doing the data entry there. In 2015, the decision was made to go digital, and I was brought in at the central office, and the first thing they said is, you've got a week to make a plan to make a digital survey, and then you've got 2 weeks to implement the survey. So I was like, challenge accepted. And it was indeed a challenge, but we did make it happen. So it was, it had to be all digital, and only had about a week to set it up. And then added challenge is we wanted to make a competition with prizes for the top 3 schools. So we'll get into that a little bit more. So that added another layer of complexity. Some more background. In 2016, we had the ITTA teams come into place, so that enabled us to do even more in 2016. So here's some data on the survey over those 3 years. So if you look, let's see, this is the teacher survey. We started off in 2014, again with paper. We had 74 participants. When I came on board, we went digital and doubled that to 157 teachers. And then when we brought on the ITTA team at the beginning of this school year, we doubled that again, getting over 300 teachers involved. Now, the great thing about having this high a number of teachers, this represents over 60% of our WIOA program teachers. The great thing about that is you're not just getting early adopters who are like, I like technology, I'll take a technology survey. Now you're really getting a broad base. So when you have the lower numbers, it can kind of skew the results, and this gives us a much better understanding of what our teachers' needs are. On the student side, in 2014 with the paper survey, we had 3,482 pieces of paper at the end of the survey that needed to be tabulated. When I was brought in, we made that happen, and we in the course of a week, created the digital survey, and then the next following 2 weeks implemented it, and we got over 5,600 students to participate in the digital survey, and of course there was no tabulating, it was instant results, which was really nice. And then in the fall of this year, we were able to double that number and had over 11,000 students participate in the WIOA technology survey. So that was really tremendous for us. We're very proud of being able to get that many students to participate and really get a good sense of what our students' needs are. So setting goals was really important. And what we did is we wanted to have goals that our ITTA teams could rally the teachers and the students at their schools towards meeting. And so, of course, we have the mandated goals that we're supposed to meet. I believe it's 10% of the students and 20% of the teachers. And then we decided to take a step of a little further than that for the students. We doubled it to 20%. And for the teachers, we went far beyond that. Initially, we set a goal of 20%. That was quickly surpassed in the process of doing the survey in the fall. And then we set a new goal of beating our last year's record of 157, which was quickly surpassed. Then we're like, okay, let's go for 200. That was surpassed, and then we ended up with over 300 teachers participating. So we really surpassed all the goals that we set for ourselves, particularly in the teacher survey. Gamifying the surveys. We wanted to make it fun. We wanted folks to rally behind something that would be good for their school and for the learning, for their students' learning. And so in 2015, we said, all right, the top school with the highest percentage of student body participating will get an iPad card. And then we were like, well, we should have something for second and third place, so we said we'll give a 10-pack of iPad carts with one of those carts that you can pull around on wheels. And so that was something that really, provided some motivation. And by doing it as a highest percentage of the student body instead of just numbers of students, that enabled our smaller schools to participate, and we actually have an ITTA today from the school that won in 2015, Harbor Occupational Center. It's our smallest school in terms of population, but they got so many people involved, they won the iPad cart. So congratulations to Annabelle and her team at Harbor. This year, we actually decided to switch it up. And we had a meeting in the fall to say, hey, how are we going to do things this year? What kind of reward can we provide? And so at the meeting at Maxine Waters, I think Annabelle actually had this idea of let's get students earbuds. They're always asking for headphones in class. Why don't we just get that to them as to say thank you for participating in the survey, and then they can actually use that with the iPads that we bought the year before, or they can use it with their own device when they're doing some BYOD activity. So that turned out to be fantastic. The students really, really liked that. Something else that we did is we created a pre-survey. So I think everyone here is familiar with the survey that OTAN provides that we do. But what we wanted to do is we wanted to collect additional information. And so we created our own pre-survey. And here's what it looked like. So you can see it asks for the student's first name and last name, and then their email. We're like, let's collect their email. And then we have an opt-in so that we can communicate with them via email. Then we also ask for their cell phone. Texting is a very big thing with our students. And then we had an opt-in for texting. And then this year we also added, what kind of device do you have? Is it an iPhone or an Android or something else? And so that was something that we added for this year. We made it bilingual as well, English and Spanish. The Spanish is our biggest second language. And so we wanted to make that available for students to be able to read in either English or Spanish. Once you click here to continue, it would take you to the official OTAN WIOA Technology and Distance Learning Plan survey. And so now we have a vast number of students that we can actually contact in different ways. Setting up devices for the survey. So just walk through that. In 2015, what we did is, I did myself and a colleague went out to a bunch of schools and started manually and working with, some of the folks at the ITTAs weren't hired at that point, but some of them were helping in that process in that survey. And we would just manually add the short link on the iPads. We had the survey link was super long, and so Nell brought up Bitly at the previous presentation, and that really saved us a lot of time. So we just used a Bitly link to type in the survey, and then we would save it as a short link on the iPads. And the thing about that is that it was very easy to just click on the icon on the iPads, and it would take the student directly to the survey. You didn't have to worry about them typing in a URL or any of that. Just click on the icon, boom, they go to the survey. And then when they're done, that either the student closes out or the facilitator closes out, and then once you click on the icon again, it starts a brand new survey. So we were able to cycle through a bunch of students using the same device very quickly. But we had to go out and manually do this. In 2016, at the beginning of this school year, we started using mobile device management, and our district uses AirWatch, and this saved us a lot of time. So we actually were able, we have almost 600 iPads that we purchased last year, and we were able to push out the short link, or what they call in mobile device management, the web clip. We were able to push out the survey link to about 600 iPads almost instantly. So that saved us a lot of time over 2015 as well. So directions for administering the survey, this was really important. We wanted whoever was facilitating, to be able to see very easily the cycle from the student starting the survey to finishing it and the next student starting the survey. And so we put together a one-pager. Here's the original one that we created. So it just, walked you. It was a PDF that we printed out step by step. Took you through 4 steps to doing the survey. So you click on the icon there on the iPad, or if you're using a desktop, we had the links there as well. Then you do the pre-survey. Then you go to the official page and type in the password for the survey, and then you actually take the survey. What we found out is we needed to add that next step was how to get people back to here. So we ended up creating another step, which was when you're done with the survey, just X out if you're on a laptop or a desktop, or if you're on an iPad, just hit the home button and you're done. Then the next student can go and just click on the icon. So sharing results with the field during the survey rollout. This was really important, and the reason why is we were able now, because we were doing this digitally, we were able to get the results instantly. And I actually, every time someone did a survey, I got a little message on my phone. So I was actually able to keep track of how that was going live. And so what I would do is I would give daily updates to the field, to the schools, and saying, hey, this is how many surveys that you have at your school. So they could see how they're doing in terms of the goal that's been set specifically for their school, the number of students that they're trying to reach, that 20%. And then they can also see how they're doing compared with other schools in terms of reaching their 20%. So it really kind of fostered this competitive but fun kind of atmosphere. And so, yeah. So this is what I was just saying. They could see how well they're doing in relation to their schools and also compared to the other schools. And we did that on a daily basis. So that way the ITTAs could go and share with their teachers, hey, this is what's going on. We need to do a little more. We're getting close to our goal, or we're almost at our goal. And so it really helps people to join in the excitement. Here's what it looked like, what I shared with the field. So you can see the schools here. We have in our district, the adult schools, and here is the raw results, and here is the minimum goal. So this is that 20%. And so then you could see how people did. One school did 268% of what their minimum goal was. And we encourage people to go a little bit over 20% because even though we ended up with over 12,000 surveys. I'm sure you guys are familiar with this. Sometimes you get duplicates. Sometimes they're incomplete. Things happen, and so we asked folks to go an extra 15 to 20% over that minimum number, the minimum goal that we set. And some of the schools started at different times, and but you can see we all did did quite well there, and every school surpassed the results from the previous year. So we were very excited about how we did there. On the teacher survey, this is what we did those separately. So we did the student survey first. We just wanted to get that out of the way, and then we did the teacher survey is a smaller scale survey, so we did that next, and then so those were done at separate times. So this is the information that I would send out on a daily basis about the teacher survey, and so you can see how many were completed at this point. It was towards the end of the survey, over 300 there. You can see the percent of teachers. At that point, we were at 62% of our WIOA program teachers. Initially, we set that 20% goal. We surpassed that. Then we said, let's beat the 157. We surpassed that. We surpassed 200. That was really unexpected. We really did a great job with the teacher surveys there. So let's take a look here. Then, so those are the stats about the survey. Then, of course, you're doing the survey for some reason. We want to know, our learning habits from the learners, what the students are telling us about what they know about technology, how they use technology. We want to know from the teachers, what do you rate your skill at, and how important is that for you? And so what we wanted to do was take some of the highlights of the actual survey results and share that back. And what we decided to do was to create infographics, because it was an easy way, again, with one page, in a colorful way to share some of those statistics, which if you do it like this, it's not that exciting, right? It's nice to see where you are, where you're ranked, but for sharing the actual results, we decided to create some infographics. And I'm sure you're familiar that there's several infographic creators that you can do online, and so we decided to do that. And so this was from 2015, where we did the 5,600 surveys. Do you text on your phone? Yes. This was something that really stood out to us. Smartphone usage was 79, almost 80%. Of our students said that they have smartphones. And that's something, if you're in the classroom, you see that. But it's nice to actually document it on a level of this kind where you have so many students involved. And then down here, you can see the winners that we, in terms of percentage of enrollment, which schools. So we had Harbor, North Valley, and East LA who were in the top 3 there. And that was the whole infographic. So it was a legal-sized paper. So that's, it's nice to use legal-sized paper because it's a little different from what people usually see. You can fit a little more in there. And there we go. Yes?
This was shared with everyone, teachers and administrators, just administrators?
Yes. So this went out to the school site so that could be shared with the teachers, and the teachers could also share that with the students. What we did do with the students is we did email them the students' survey results as well. So if you look here, we also listed some of the highlights of that successful campaign in 2015, the transition to digital surveys. Students gained digital literacy skills through the process of doing it digitally. We doubled the student surveys at that point, and we were able to do it in the last 2 weeks of the semester. And then we had the teacher survey results from 2015, where we included here. We looked at some different trends, and we included some of the top score things. The teacher survey has how teachers rank their competency. So we put the highest ranking and what teachers felt that they needed the most help in. And then we also ranked what teachers identified as the most important skills for teaching, and then the least important. So to have some things that the schools could see what's happening, and use that to inform their professional development. So in 2016, we switched it up a little bit. We went from 79.3% of students using mobile devices. Now 84% of our students are saying that they use mobile devices. We're doing we have a partnership with XPRIZE, and we're going to be providing the bulk of their student participation from our school district. Of about 12,000 in 3 different cities, we're going to provide close to 10,000 students to participate in the XPRIZE project on adult literacy. And so the XPRIZE folks gave us a presentation last week, and they said, you know what, across the country, it's about 75% of Americans that have a smartphone. In our program, we're at 84%. So we're way above the national average, which was very interesting. Yeah.
That's district-wide,
This is district-wide, yeah.
and then you can disaggregate by school?
By school, yeah.
Cool.
So we put in, the 2014, 15, 16 that you already saw. What we were very excited about here was we started to really closely look at the gaps identified. So we, in the teacher survey, the teacher ranks themselves, on how much they think they know a certain skill, and then they rank, how important they think that skill is. So we started to look at the gaps between that. So if someone says, my skill level's here, but I think that this is really important, those gaps are areas that we can, look at for incorporating into professional development. So we were really took a much closer look this year at what the biggest gaps were, and just to point them out, it's a little small there to read, but let me see if it's on the. Do I have it on the next bit? Yeah. So the biggest gap was I covered topics of digital footprint and online reputation in my instruction. So that one and the third one, I cover topics of internet safety, privacy, and security in my instruction. Those are both, fall under that category of digital citizenship. So we really want to focus on providing digital citizenship professional development for our teachers. So that really spoke to us. The next one there, and the second one is I employ appropriate tools and strategies to create an online community for my learners. So we're seeing, some of the software programs we're using, whether it's Burlington or some of the other vendors that we're working with, or Schoology, it provides that opportunity to have an online community for the learners. And then also another gap is, big gap was, I have an online professional learning network. And again, in the context of an LMS, in our case we're using Schoology, is where you can provide that learning, professional learning network. And then another big one was I can incorporate technology into performance-based assessments. So again, with the vendors that we're working with, you can have instant feedback, digital assessments, and so that was really helpful for us to look at those gaps. All right, so I want to bring on our team to talk a little more about the survey and what it was like at the school site level. And so I'm going to pass the mic over to Lana Prince. And maybe if we do about 5 to 7 minutes each, and then we can do the assessment.
Hi. It was my first year helping with this at our site. It had been done in previous years, of course, but it was my first time helping. And we have a lot of ESL classes and teachers at our school. And so the ESL teacher advisors were the ones who set up and scheduled for classes to come at certain times. And it appeared to me that they made sure that all of the upper level classes came, and especially, depending on if a classmate's off campus or what times there, but tried to get all the ones that were easy, all the ones who were on campus, all the ones who are upper level and going to have an easier time with the survey than the literacy levels. And then this year, because some things fell between the cracks, we weren't as good about getting our academic students to take the survey. We made sure to get the ESL ones. In previous years, we've done a better job of getting both. But having the iPads available was very helpful, and having those set up ahead of time. And we had different places where they were, like we have 3 main sites. So each of the main sites, we had to get iPad carts out there, and the ones that were remotely set up, those were easy because it got pushed through to them. The other ones we had to go and put the link on ahead of time. And that was fine, that was easy. Made mistakes and learned from them along the way. Like I went to our academic teacher, the learning lab, and put on all of the links, did those all manually, and then went looking for them the next day so we could do the survey. And they were all on a deep freeze program, so they were all wiped out. Lesson learned, So things like that, to know ahead of time, make sure you're not wasting your time. And then we brought in, and then also our school did our surveys later than the other schools. So fortunately, I attended a meeting where I listened to everybody else's advice, and then we learned some things from them. I don't want to take all of those. I'll make sure I leave some of those for you. One of the things I found is that it was really important to actually read through the survey word for word myself. You know how as a teacher, I'm sure you've made the mistake sometimes of feeling like you skimmed the material and you are sure it's going to go well. And then you find out that there's some unusual question or not an obvious answer or something like that. And so that was the case in a few places because the categories of what the students put down as their class level are called by different names than what we call them. And so that was really confusing for the students. They want to do the right thing, and yet what is it? And so one of the things we did is before each class would come in, we would write down the name of their teacher, the name of their level ahead of time. There was also a password. It was very important to write the password on the board also because even though you're explaining it, it's not always clear to everybody. So having those just, it's the foresight of walking through and seeing what are going to be the tough points for the students or what are going to be the things that are difficult for them to understand what the question's asking. So that was important. Also, at different sites, depending on who our facilitators were, they handled it differently. So where I was with the facilitators I was working with, we let the students, we gave a little short orientation. We made sure that the students knew why they were doing this. That seems honoring of their time and effort to make sure they know why we're doing it. Also, I let them know in terms of the email and phone numbers, I didn't know if they would be skittish about putting those down. So even before they started, I let them know that they would have the opportunity to opt in or opt out. So they could place their information there and know that we wouldn't email them if they ask us not to. And then also with all the things going on with immigration, also I feel like people can be sensitive to that issue. So just made sure that we brought that up with them before they even began the survey. So once they began, and once we'd given them the little orientation, we let them go at their own pace. Even though some people might be in a lower level ESL class, they might be more familiar with using mobile devices. So they seem to go more quickly. And younger folks had an easier time than some of our older population. So we let them go at their own pace, and then there were a lot of us to have eyes and hands to help out. And that seemed to work really well. At one of our sites, they made the students do one question at a time, and then the next question at a time. And I heard that was difficult for some. It was very difficult to ask people to wait. So my thing, you'll know your own site and your own students better, but it seemed just fine to let them go at their own pace and then to be with the ones who needed more helping hands. I think I'm going to leave the rest for you guys. All right? All right.
And what school?
Oh, I am with West Valley Occupational Center out in the San Fernando Valley.
Hello, my name is Farzana Kasim. Apparently, I think I just took the picture today. I'm wearing the same scarf. I tend to do that just to let you know. Every time I have a presentation, I make sure what I wore and what picture will be posted. I work at Evans Community Adult School. I'm the tech advisor at Evans School, and I have been tech advisor wearing many hats for a while, since 2011. So I pretty much, like I said, wearing many hats means sometimes you will see me under the chair and tables and up on the desk and really, changing the lamp and all those things. So I pretty much did that. Just like Sean said that in 2014, we used to have these paper survey out, right? So I actually had to go through that, not alone, but of course with the WEO advisors and some ESL advisors. We did that. But then in 2015, we had these 2 computer labs with 45 computers in each lab, and we were given 1 iPad card with 30 iPads. So at that time, there was no MDM management, mobile device management system. So we had to use this Apple configurator. And Sean gave us the link, and so of course, I, wearing many hats at that time, had to actually go through every single iPad and put that shortcut in. And of course, Sean did help me somewhat. Then in the computer lab, the one with the 45 computers, I actually had to have these shortcuts in. Thank God for that. We have no deep freeze because, so I didn't have to worry about the deep freeze part, but it was there. But then I also asked the teachers, the academic teachers, many academic classes, we have 6 to 8 computers in classroom use, right? So I had to go to those academic classes and make shortcuts as well, so I can, get many people as we can. That was in 2015. It was quite tedious work, but we made it through. Then in 2016, thank God for that, we got 2 more iPad cards. So we have 3 iPad cards, and I didn't have to do the shortcut on the computers. At that time, we had new computers, so that means there were no more shortcuts from the previous year anyway. So thank God for that. We had nothing to do, no more shortcuts on the computer labs. And with these 3 cards, 3 iPad cards, what we did was that we have east and west side. We call it east building and west building, like a bungalow size, and there are like 16 classes in each, wing. And then we have a John Campion building. That's the one with the second and third floor classes. So what we did was 1 iPad card for that east wing, another iPad card for the west wing, and then another iPad card for the one with the elevator building. So and then of course I cannot do by myself. At that time, I no longer wear many hats. Thank God, I only wear my scarf. And but I got my computer support technician in 2016, and 3 WIOA advisors, and then I had 6 ESL advisors. We all sat down together, created a schedule to get every classroom as we can. We got that, just like any other schools anyway, we did that. We got all these scheduled out. Then these 3 cards, iPad cards, we roll them. Whoever is scheduled for it, we roll the card into every classroom. And of course, we told the facilitators how to go about. Pretty much Lana had done, we had done as well. But in my case, as you know, I don't know, some of you may or may not know, but some of you may know that whenever I talk with technology, no matter what, I have to share a tip with you guys, don't I? Yes, it's just me. I feel like I have overflowing tips in my head, especially with the iPads and iPhones and the mobile devices. So I always, because I don't have a class of my own, for a while now, so I got students, right? They are here. I am the facilitator for them in the classroom. So I always told them, you want to learn something about your phone, the iPad. So I give them a couple of things about the closing their window, because Sean mentioned at the end of the survey, you press the home button. I didn't want them to constantly press that home button again and again, so I gave them 1 tip. I said at the end of the class, you will learn 3 tips from me. 1 tip was, you want to close it, you close it using your 5 fingers and you can close the app. That was the one I gave them. Then of course I went through the survey with them, what you should be answering, and in regards to the opt-in, the text messages and email, I think. I told them, nowadays, we all know where you are. We all know anything and everything about you. You're on Facebook, you're revealing it yourself. Your email address, you can check. If you check, that's good, but we're not going to. This is just an email. It's just like I give out my name. Hi, my name is Frizana. Same thing like that, almost like that. So they are more willing to give their email address or and the cell phone number, because it is very helpful for us, especially. Hopefully we don't sell anything, but we still need that. This is very useful for us. So they were more willing to, share that information with us. So they did. And at the end of the class, with some of the students, I say, because we all have these phones, right? We are also into selfie. I am way more into selfie than any of you, so just letting you know too. So I said, let's take a class picture. So then we got this feeling of togetherness. We did it together. So these are some of the practices I did. Thank you.
A lot of it was easily facilitated because of the coordination with the advisors and having an advisor come in, especially a bilingual advisor, so that, because when I worked specifically on wheeling the carts in, we had a computer lab and we had an ESL advisor doing that. We had an iPad lab and we had ESL advisor doing that, and then I was taking the cart into the room. One of the things I learned early on is to check the room out ahead of time, because you get into this room and you don't know where the Wi-Fi setup is. You gotta, or the Ethernet setup is, and you got to find that while the heat's on and everybody's staring at you. But so having a bilingual advisor with me who could entertain them and just talk with them, and like Farzana was saying, you could tell he was excited just to be in a classroom again and have a group to discuss, talk with. And then I could work on the technology part and handing out. It facilitated best when we brought them in somewhere and the iPads were already there. It was fun to see. It was like bringing them into a showroom and you know, they see the iPads. Coming into some classrooms could be difficult, handing out iPads and moving through the room. That was probably the most difficult part of the whole thing. Handing them out, collecting them. I would hold off on the password because it's such an uneven skill of people with technology. You had young millennials who were ready to go and like doing stuff right away, and you had people who had clearly never touched an iPad before. And I would try to enlist their help once they were done and get them to help people who were having trouble, and walk through the room and help people from behind so you can actually see the screen. For me, some of the most interesting thing was just seeing, one of the questions was what phones they're using and seeing how many Android phones were out there and how many smartphones. It's almost all Android, and many of them have them. And that was really interesting to see, like, oh, you can really use this, and that was really important information to get and just see it firsthand. It was great for us because we set up an iPad lab at our school, and this was like the ticking clock that got us to get that done, so that was ready for the survey. And I have another partner I work with, so we had 2 of us, the ESL advisors. It was just all the communication ahead of time, and then it was pretty easy from there. And making sure, hit the higher level first, you hit multiple, because you can hit more. You go to a lower level room, it takes much longer. You get less classes done than you do when you hit the higher level. So we coordinated all that, made sure. We'll save those literacy classes if we need them. As we were getting our numbers for Sean, we're deciding, okay, are we going to hit these lower level ones or not? And handing out, I think the most fun was handing out the earbuds. I got to feel like Oprah, like every 30 minutes. Like, you get earbuds, you get earbuds. Just a fun anecdote, we have a kind of a continuation high school program, and I brought it to them, and I'm like, earbuds, and they're like, oh man, these are like horrible. I'm just teenagers. They're like, give them free stuff, and they're like, oh, there was something on like, I don't know, they were all, yeah, it was Sony knockoff, and they got all upset. I'm like, I want to go back to the ESL classroom. Yeah, they always put you in your place. That's about it.
So Chris, just want to add in just real quick. So the advice that I had received from the other teachers was with ESL to schedule, especially if they're coming to one location, schedule the higher level first, and then a few of them who are particularly helpful or known to the teacher, let them stick around, and then they helped the lower levels. Especially, there might be more languages than any facilitator is bilingual in, and yet they speak each other's language, and so then they facilitated and helped each other, and that was really great.
Yeah.
What's your school site?
Oh, I'm Abram Friedman, downtown LA, and then we have some satellites, Belmont, and some satellites around there.
Well, it's very clear that our ITTA teams are the ones who made it possible for us to get over 10,000, over 11,000 student participants, and over 60% of our teachers. And so that was a big deal for us, and so it was really exciting. And we gave the ITTAs freedom, And as you heard, different people had different approaches, and so they kind of figured out what worked at their school with the equipment they had, with the students that participated, the teachers that participated, and but they all made it work. And so that was exciting, and we're all sharing, best practices with each other as well, so we can improve for the next year. A big takeaway from me, and then we'll do the Kahoots. A big takeaway for me was, well over 80% of our students have these smartphone devices. In adult education and public education in general, we're seeing, budget cuts left and right, and the idea of buying, one-to-one devices is kind of beyond us. But 84%, that means, if you have 40,000 students in your WIOA program, you're talking about tens of thousands of devices that are already there. And so how can we tap more into that? And that's something that we're really excited to explore. We'll be doing that with XPRIZE, and we'll be doing that as we get this year we've had teachers on Schoology. Next year we'll be moving more students into Schoology where they can download that app and interact more with their fellow students and their teachers. So that's some exciting times are ahead of us. We're very excited about that.